posted it last night. Mm-hmm. That he was a co-host. And they interviewed Beau Hill. I think he's done it a couple times. I think it's the guy. You remember? So they did it. I think he's based up in New York, but he does this rock podcast, and he interviewed Ronnie Younkins and Brian Forsyth right before the last show. So it was up on YouTube somehow. I guess the Kicks fan page posted it, and I was watching it, but they were talking about the end of the road and a lot of stories from when the band first started. I think it was that guy. Oh, yeah? Just co-headlining? That would be interesting.
Now, no more fucking around.
Oh, we're not going live? You just scared me.
I thought we were going live. There we go.
No, we're not live. I'm just making sure I had the right song before I hit it and hit record and go live.
I just, I'm like a dog. The bell just rung and I started salivating.
No more fucking around. That's for the bump.
Right.
Yep.
Love that one.
All right, I think we're good. Let me I'm gonna just mute everything real quick, and then we will go live here in a moment.
Ready when you're ready.
No more fucking around. It's Wild Style Radio. Wild Style Radio.
Stand up and shout. Stand up and shout.
Welcome to the show. Live.
Look at that guy. Wait a minute, I hear me.
Now, no more fucking around. It's Wild Style Radio. Wild Style Radio. Radio.
Stand up and shout.
What is up? And welcome to the Stand Up and Shout Rock Show. We're coming to you live from Salisbury Center Studios in Manassas, Virginia, on the Wild Style Network, fueled by Monster Energy.
Yes, sir. Welcome to
Season 2.
of the Stand Up and Shout Rock Show.
Yep.
Am I in, John? Am I hearing me?
I'm hearing you off and on.
Am I hearing me off and on?
Yeah,
I got the jangled chord. All right, I think I'm good to go now. It was at the second year of the
Yep.
Stand Up and Shout Rock Show.
Yes.
Think of where we were this time last year.
We were
right. We were a little bit deer in headlights ish.
sort of, yeah.
Yeah. I think like it's just so much more seasoned. We
Yeah.
can say it was the second season, but the season is more seasoned.
I would agree.
There's a little bit more spice in our lives.
Definitely so.
In year 2.
And yeah, definitely didn't think we would even be getting this far when we first started. But,
Right?
But here we are.
Here we are. And excited to be back.
Yes.
It's been too long. We've had some holdups.
Yep. Couple
We had some weather,
some
illnesses,
some rock shows to go to.
rock shows to go to. We did. We went to speaking of which, because that was the first night we were going to broadcast
Yep.
on a Wednesday, but instead that Wednesday we drove up to Baltimore and saw
Zach Sabbath.
Zach
and
Sabbath.
the Native Hal.
Yeah. So that was a slick double bill. I think that tour just ended, so
Yep.
you're not able to see it again. But if you're able to see either band, I
Yeah.
would highly recommend either.
Well, the Native Hal's going back out. They just recently announced they're moving from one tour to the next, and I think they're actually going to be playing down in the Richmond area. March, I think it is.
Why can't our booking guy get those guys on board?
I know, right?
Oh,
Some of that.
they're awesome.
He only did some shots with him.
Yeah, no doubt. What's up with that?
slacking. But yeah,
Super nice guys. Like super just, outside of just their music ability and the songs, which are great. So like, we never really talked about that. They're
Nope.
thrash grass. They kind of like,
thrash grass.
there's so many subgenres, right? There's a little bit of a different bend on their subgenre, which is thrash metal and bluegrass.
Yeah, and then they've got one of their newer releases. It's even a little bit more diverse from that. So very eclectic music style. I mean, it's rock,
Yeah.
but very, very talented guys. I mean,
If you've never heard of thrash grass, and there's the two songs that they blend and it works amazingly well, is the Harvester of Sorrow,
Harvester of Constant Sorrow.
and then there's the there's Constant Sorrow. So like those are the two songs. So one is the Metallica song, one is a bluegrass song that was featured in Brother Where Art Thou. That was the movie name, right?
I think so.
Yeah,
Yep.
with George Clooney. Yes, Harvester. So they fuse those two songs. They call it the Harvester of Constant Sorrow. They blend verses with choruses of two different songs, and it comes together and works like amazingly well.
Yeah. And, you were the one that turned me on to the show, but they were on the first season of No Cover,
Great show.
and I think they won that, right?
They won, which was a spoiler. We just gave you the spoiler for No Cover. If you go watch No Cover on YouTube, because we talk about documentaries and things, not only that we witness in live events or music that we listen to, but of course documentaries that we watch on TV. But that YouTube series called No Cover, because it's like basically an American Idol, but they're not doing any cover songs. They're all original metal bands doing, and there's different genres of metal
Yeah.
bands. Although there was one pop act that was kind of on.
Right.
Yeah, but she kind of like brought rock into it. But
yeah, I mean, so if you want to check them out, you haven't heard of them, obviously you could Google them,
yes,
but fantastic band.
great show to watch to see like more about the band.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And they opened for Zach Sabbath that night, and they were just great.
Yeah. So when, I don't know what you thought, my thoughts, like it was kind of amazing to see Zach Sabbath and Zach Wilde play Black Sabbath songs. And that was obviously all covers, but it didn't feel like a cover show in so many ways because Zach Wilde was Zach Wilde,
Yep.
not Tony Iommi on those classic Black Sabbath songs. I felt like in a lot of ways I was watching a Black Label Society show.
Yeah, I'd agree. You know, he definitely puts his mark and his vibrato and everything into the Black Sabbath tunes, which is interesting because, you know, obviously the Pantera tour, and he's playing. There was a couple things that were online and that I read where he worked directly with Dimebag's guitar tech, because he wanted to be not necessarily album quality, but he wanted to have Dime's tone, and so he works so that when they're playing and he's playing the Pantera tunes, he sounds like Dimebag.
Sure. Yeah, exactly.
It's definitely not how he sounded
with Zach Sabbath. Yeah. But it was great. Like, I mean, obviously I'm a big Black Label fan. I'm an Ozzy fan with Zach Wilde. So I will watch any of those incarnations of Zach Wilde playing. And so, yeah, I mean, Pantera with Zach Wilde. I mean, we get into that with all the cover bands that we've interviewed, right? Like, do you try to sound like as authentic as the original songs that are studio recorded as possible? Or do you try to like bring your own interpretation in? And that was certainly Zach Wilde's interpretation of Black Sabbath.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
But what struck me at first, like the first 4 to 5 songs, vocally, he sounded just like Ozzy.
Yeah.
I was like,
yeah,
it almost sounded like backing tracks, because knowing how he sings, I wasn't hearing him at all.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. It was great. And then, you know, the couple of times he talked between songs, because there were very few breaks. They just ran through the songs, which was great.
Yeah.
And lots of guitar solos too. But
yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, it's a good show. Good start to the new year.
It was good. It was a great, I mean, so if we couldn't be here, we always say that live music is the place to be. We were doing that. We were watching ourselves some live music. And by the way, I have to say, tomorrow I go get to see Living Color. And, you know, one of the best frontmen / singers, vocalists of all time. And Mr. Salisbury's distracted, so he didn't get that reference. And
He's just ignoring
He's
you.
in the zone. He doesn't want to have the Corey Glover versus Jeff Tate debate.
Not yet. Well,
but we're going to see him too.
we are. Yep.
Yeah, so that's what we'll be
in
talking
2
about.
weekends.
Exactly. Like in between this show and next show will be a second time that I'll see Living Color with you, along with Extreme.
Yep. And I'm really looking forward to that show, because 2 different times we were supposed to see Extreme at M3.
Yes.
And
Canceled both times.
And yep.
Yeah. And we talked about their new album 6 so much that they put out last year. It's one of our favorite albums of the year.
Yep.
So we'll be seeing that live for the first time.
And so excited for that. And yeah, you know, we're getting, there's a lot more live music coming up, even here at the Salisbury Center. We got 3 pretty big shows coming up in the next couple months. You know, well, we were actually supposed to, the weather got in the way last Friday, but Spotlight on Friday nights, the metal night.
Yeah.
That's been rescheduled. That will be on Friday, February the 9th.
Yes.
With Cursor headlining the show, with Motel Portrait, the Knuckleheads, who we've had on the show.
We're going to have them on again.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. Looking forward to catching up with them.
Great crew.
Yep. And then Mach Zero are all going to be performing that night. And then on Sunday night, the 18th of February, our friends from Age of Ruin,
I love it,
will be here.
New album. Yeah.
Celebrating the album release. And that's a night of hardcore and thrash.
Yes.
With Age of Ruin, Beggars, Born of Plagues, and Anesthesiac.
And we, of course, I think that, well, it was either Gavin Evick or Age of Ruin, like, was our most frequented guest here on the show. They kind of tied last year, and obviously Age of Ruin will be kicking things off with the first appearance. So we always have a good time catching up with those dudes.
Looking forward to that, and seeing bits and pieces on Facebook and stuff about the album. So
yeah,
definitely looking forward to catching that. Yeah. And then on March the 22nd here at the Salisbury Center will be Spread Eagle.
Yeah, Spread Eagle. So yeah, so if we're going to talk to that band, we're going to get them on the show, and you know, you may not have heard the name, but they are a throwback band.
They are National Recording Act. Released an album back in the late 90s, and yeah, looking forward to talking to them, talking about the show.
Sure.
And then you know, that live show coming up in March, and then we start to get close to summer concert season.
Yeah, no, right? And I can't wait for that. Always.
Yeah.
Another new piece to the second year is the producer of the show. So, you know, we would we would not necessarily limit conversation to us. As you know, Mr. Salisbury, the owner, he chimes in as the voice of God every once in a blue moon. And I tried to goad him into chiming in a few minutes ago, but he ignored me. And then the other one
John's getting his shit together. I couldn't hear you.
is the other guy, John. So like we have a new producer, John the producer. So welcome to you, John.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Thank you for letting me be part of this journey.
You know, we're gonna like probably goad you whether you want to be a part of the journey or not, because we did that to the last producer. We even gave them a superlative as at the end of the year for the best moment for that producer when he was chiming in the show.
Awesome.
So I don't know. So John, like, so our last producer, I'm sorry, but we'll do a little comparison here because I got to know where you're coming from. So when we talk to you in upcoming conversations, you know, we won't be too thrown off guard into what to expect. But that was one of our biggest hits was Kevin's take on emo music, which was not very favorable. You know what I mean? So that was like a little blurb, little reel that we pulled out of there that got a lot of, response, either likes or dislikes, but it was pretty funny. But Kevin, you didn't really know what emo was because that was kind of his jam.
I never heard that term.
Yeah.
I mean, heard of the bands that, he missed a show we were supposed to do because he was
Went to an emo
Fall
show.
Out Boy.
Fall Out
Yeah.
Boy. Yes.
So yeah, and I had never heard it called emo.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I wouldn't have, if you asked me for emo bands, I wouldn't have listed Fall Out Boy. So I'm right there with you, Kevin. So,
I mean, I knew what EDM was, but
yeah.
not emo.
So what's your jam? Like, are you a rock guy? Like, what do you listen to?
I'm all over the place. So, starting DJing, pretty much open format. So I play a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I really enjoy the classic rock. For a while, there was bands, I would talk to Jeff about, and he would say an artist, and I'd be like, I have no idea who that was. And then, just
Swift.
as the time goes, I'm like, oh, I know that song, and it's just, not clicking the artists together. But I'm all over the place. I love a good rock song. I love some, good old school hip hop.
Yeah.
Anything that kind of gets the crowd going, I'm all for. And
All right. I like that DJ. So you brought up the DJ background, but then I also know the other side of you because we've been on the show.
Yep.
And we did a rock and roll Factor Fiction segment. You were on with the old producer.
Yep.
And I introduced you as John the sound man.
Yep.
Not John the producer. So like I've known you in that role too, just happened to be lucky enough to play, some events here from time to time at the Salisbury Center. You're a great sound man. So like you have that background too, as well as being, I didn't know about the DJ piece.
And before anybody gets their feelings butthurt, you can't keep calling him the old producer.
Oh.
It's the producer that's out with broken feet or something.
I did not know that.
Yeah, Scott.
I threw him off a building. He broke his foot.
Yeah.
But why would he be butthurt?
Were you
if he
guys
broke his
backyard
foot?
wrestling?
No, because you're calling him the old producer.
I couldn't resist.
You're calling the old producer like he got fired or something.
I didn't know. Like obviously I'm a babe in the woods when it comes to this stuff. I'm just kind of feeling my way through.
No, he
I'm
he
setting
fell
John
off
up
of
here.
a roof and busted up his legs pretty good.
Was he listening to Fall Out Boy when that happened?
Ironically, he was.
Nickelback.
I was
It
going
was
to bring
Fall
that up
Down Boy
next.
for him.
I was going to bring it up next.
I feel like there's a parody song to be made there.
All right, so we have a second producer.
Yep.
I don't know who's second and I don't know who's first. I'm not going to, so nobody gets
Not
butt
giving
hurt.
numbers, I guess.
I'm not going to I'm not going to go down that road.
We're all working for the same outcome for the whole studio. So
there we go.
And
So
we
we have
appreciate that. You're making us look and sound good.
John the producers.
producers,
There's two producers.
yeah.
All right. There we go. We have another superlative category. We'll make the end
Oh, I
of your
thought you meant he was as big as two producers.
That's what I thought. I was waiting for that. But
He's two of Scott.
more than two.
Yeah.
Well, John, we're glad to like I said, we're going to goad you into, if you're up here producing more, I said
Yeah.
if you're up here producing more, we're going to goad you into conversation.
Awesome. I look forward to it.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, he was in the studio
Well,
when
that's
we
what
did
I'm
the
saying.
rock myth or
Yeah, the
factor
Factor
fiction.
Exactly. Right. But if we get we would goad Scott sometime. It was easy. There was an age gap too. And there's an age gap, I feel like too, John. You appear a little younger. I'm not going to
I'm
call
almost
you out
tapping that 40, but
right? So there was times like Scott was like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And then we'd have to kind of, get into some clarifying conversation, and which was kind of fun conversation to bring him into.
that's how I felt 10 years when we started doing podcasts together. I felt like when Jeff would talk about an artist, I would be like, who are you talking about? And now it's like kind of come full circle to where, you know, Scott is the one not knowing the artist, and I maybe have a little bit of knowledge on the artist, and yeah, it's just progressing through.
It wasn't 10 years ago, by the way. It was 15 years ago.
Okay, so even further.
We started doing podcasts.
Even further.
Awesome. Well, thank you, John.
And thank you guys.
The second, I'm not going to call you second. That feels wrong.
Yeah, you call me what you want to call me.
That's why I went with the producers.
John,
but evidently
one
that
of,
was
one
wrong.
of the producers.
I'm full of butt pain tonight here. I'm like dishing out butt pain left and right.
That's fine. I will be the second producer. That's fine.
All right.
Well, sweet. So we want to take a little pause and get set up.
Yeah,
for
we got
next segment.
some news to talk about. We got some, and we're going to do it in a heard and word format. We haven't done that in what, like at least
It's been a
6
while.
months. Six
Yeah.
months since we did a little heard and word. So, you know, all you wordsmiths and crossword fanatics, get your words ready because we're going to throw some some items at you.
And we'll be right back on the Stand Up and Shout Rock Show.
From the Salisbury Center Studios. From the Salisbury Center Studios in Manassas, Virginia, it's Wild Style Radio.
Ready commercial?
So, do you guys really need a break, or were you just taking a pause break?
Well,
Just taking a pause.
just
yeah.
a pause. Wanted to make sure we had the
Yeah.
slideshow, all that stuff
Yeah,
ready
yeah,
to roll.
Yeah. We were just, you know,
You're muted.
They're muted right now, so they don't go out to the feed talking at the moment.
You're muted so that you don't got to the feed. John's trying to get it set up.
YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, TikTok, Apple Music, Apple Podcast, Facebook, and WildStyleRadio.com.
What's up? Welcome back to the Stand Up and Shout Rock Show with Whisk and Kev, coming to you live from Salisbury Center Studios. Ready for Heard and Word?
every little like there's been a lot of music happenings. I feel like
Yeah.
you kind of like take a little break and around the holidays, Christmas, New Year, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, like whatever's happening in
Right.
and around that. But then, happenings, organization keeps happening in the music world. So there's a lot of things I feel like we haven't just explored or talked about yet.
Well, it's been almost over a month since we've done a show.
Exactly.
Too, so
yeah,
some things have been happening.
And like you mentioned before, summer tours are coming, are getting set up, and
Yep.
yeah, we didn't mention the M3 Rock Festival.
Nope. Looking forward to that one.
Great lineup on that one.
It's going to be outstanding.
Yeah, and our buddy shout out to Pete Evick, who had a show here with Evick and one of his old bands, Some Odd Reasons, and of course his son Gavin joined him several times, throughout the evening. He's going to be playing with Bret Michaels' band on Sunday of that event.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Local kind of homecoming-ish for Brett, but obviously the rest of the bulk of the rest of the band are all from this area.
I mean, easily you see how this city loves Manassas, Virginia specifically loves Bret Michaels. It's a second city for him. Yep. There's no doubt about it. Like he is, very well accepted.
Yeah. So they're headlining that on Sunday night. Sundogs are performing.
Yeah.
So looking forward to catching those guys. And for those of you that don't know that is Bob Paré, and Mark Schenker, formerly of Kix.
As Mr. Salisbury likes to say, everything goes back to Kix.
It does. We can do that in less than we can do that faster than Kevin Bacon, I think.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's their Rush tribute band, and they're performing. I think it's on the Saturday night.
Yeah.
And Stephen Piercy's going to be there.
Yeah.
It's. I think.
Wait a second. When's all this going on?
That
That
was
was
first weekend in May
Oh.
at Merriweather.
Oh.
I think
geez.
there was one time. Didn't you drive the Wild Style bus up to
I did.
Up to the
I
Rock
stayed
Festival?
there.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to do that again?
No.
I tried.
I was much younger.
Yeah. So
2 years ago?
Yeah, that was also 15 plus years ago. That was probably close to 20 years ago.
All right. We're looking good here for Heard and Word. So John is going to throw up some music happenings that we phrased in a format that we're limited. The rules of the game is one word. So one word, and then you can describe your selection of words to complete the sentence
okay.
about recent rock happenings. You want me to read the first one?
Sure.
All right, I'm going to read the first one. Rage Against the Machine's recent announcement that they're calling it quits is...
I go first.
You can do your word first.
With the white, I'm not sure it shows, but it's disappointing.
Oh, you see, I did. Is like blurred out there. We
Yeah.
we went to the art department,
Yes.
Stand Up and Shout Rock Show art department, and they gave us these pieces of paper that were just cut in half in a Sharpie.
Low budget. We
It
need to get
was.
some tech
It was
involved.
over the. There was an angry art department this time around. They were not accommodating at all.
Well,
Just threw paper and Sharpies at us and said, "Have at it." But yeah, so Rage Against the Machine calls it quits yet again.
Yet again.
And
Yeah.
you said it was disappointing. So you want to kind of...
Yeah, so I mean, the other word I was mulling in the back of my head. I'll wait, but
No, you can say it.
um,
Did you see my word? Are you cheating?
well, I had another word similar to that. So
Yeah,
I'm
as
not,
I'm saying,
I'm
that's-
just
that's
going
why
to
you
leave it
paused.
there. I mean,
I think you could say it. Like, go ahead, because I'll just piggyback on.
yeah, I mean, it was going to happen because it's happened a bunch of times.
Exactly.
But it's to me, it's disappointing because, we saw them recently and they're just so great. Live performance and Zach had a torn
Was
Achilles.
sitting down. He was
So
sitting down at his amazing live
Yes,
performance.
and the energy was still through the roof.
Right.
So, what that band does when they're together is just so amazing. It's disappointing but maybe not all that disappointing because what has come over history is they keep coming back.
Yes, exactly.
So, but it seemed like they were kind of getting things going. There was talk that they were going in the studio. They were going to record a new album.
Right.
And according to Tom Morello, that's all done.
Yeah. So that was my word as you looked over her shoulder and saw my word. My word is, does it show up a little better? I went with red instead of black.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm in a different lighting angle. It's expected. So it's expected. So, right. This is what Rage Against the Machine does. I mean, you're right. How many times have they quit? I don't know how many times they've quit and reformed. I can't make that count. I mean, it's at least 3.
Yep.
I can at least count for that.
Yeah.
So it might be more than that. There might be more of that we don't know of, because they might have yelled at each other and said they quit and didn't talk to each other for a month. And then, You know, because it was always hard, I feel, to catch a Rage Against the Machine tour because they had these on and offs. And then even when they were on, they kind of were hesitant towards intensive touring.
Right.
So you're right. When you caught them live, it was an amazing moment, but you had to be in that right place in that right time to catch them live.
Right.
And we were lucky enough to the last time they came around.
Yep.
So I agree. It is disappointing because we saw such a great show in a packed house at Capital One Arena
Yep.
downtown. So they sold that stadium easily with, I think, you know, elevated ticket prices, you know,
Right.
in aftermarket.
Oh, for sure.
So there was still like high interest to get in.
Well, and that was the first time I'd seen them since Lollapalooza 3, I think it was, that they were on when they were brand new. And,
Yeah.
and they blew everyone's doors off.
Yeah.
And it was that same energy and level and everything.
Sure.
So, two great times seeing them. And I'm sure there'll be another one, but who knows?
Did
when.
you catch the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductions, at least the abbreviated ones that they put up on CBS? It was around New Year's. So it was
Yeah,
on
I did not.
Yeah, so like they were inducted, and I did watch that, and I would like to see the expanded version of that because you know they edit it down,
Right.
Like the announcements and the you know the people that induct, you know those speeches are abbreviated, and then Tom Morello was the one who accepted the award, and he immediately said we're all not in agreement because we've talked about this too, right?
Right.
Like what is the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? How in the hell do you get in there? What does that mean? How are
Right.
they selecting the bands? And so it was definitely evident that they were split as to whether or not they should even accept the award and show up.
Right.
And he gave a great speech about, you know, recognizing the importance of rock and, you know, everything that it can do for people and how people interpret it their own way.
Right.
So that's why he was one to stand up. But you saw division, in other words.
Sure.
Like before that announcement kind of happened, and this announcement happened, and then that aired for me. So I saw it in
Right.
reverse order. So it kind of made sense, like watching that. You saw the division within the band that to me kind of happens for different reasons. Because remember, the MTV Awards in the 90s, that was another big disagreement when the bassist got up and climbed that back panel, yeah, the deck, and then he wound up like shaking and bringing it down, you know, while somebody was announcing an award, and that
Right.
pissed off like, you know, Zach De La Rocha, and so like it led to a split then at that time. I think it was their first split.
Right.
So it felt like that all over again.
Yeah. Well, and it kind of seemed like it was coming, right? Because they were supposed to, I think the show we saw was the last or the second to last show on the North American leg. Then they were supposed to go to Europe.
Right.
But because of his Achilles tear and needing to have surgery,
Yeah.
they put it on hold. And
Yeah.
then they came out and announced it was canceled.
Right.
And that was actually probably about a month or so before the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction. So
Yeah.
it was probably, or trending in that direction even then.
Yeah. Yeah. And to put out another plug for watching those inductions, because we're not Rock and Roll Hall of Fame fans. With that said, I always watch the inductions. So like they sucker me back in. But his speech was a Harvard quality speech, you know, like it was a really well structured
Yep.
and articulate and just amazing Rock and Roll Hall of Fame
Yeah.
speech.
Well,
Like you would
and-
expect that from a rock guy.
Yeah, well, and he's, he hosts his own show on Sirius XM, which is, I just find it very interesting because he's got a very eclectic taste.
Yeah, yeah.
His influences range all across the music spectrum.
Yeah.
And he is well versed in music history too.
Yeah,
So it's interesting to hear him talk about, his influences and the songs that he plays on that show. So it's really good.
I'm glad, like, I think at some of these topics, and this is the first one that we're talking about today, and some of the news that we're talking about this time around, we didn't talk about all last year.
Right.
I think, we went to that Rage show, and we talked about it maybe, for several minutes about how much we appreciated the show. But outside of that, we never talked about Rage.
Yep.
So I think that maybe is a theme across of like all recent music news. We're finally getting able to talk about some bands that we haven't been able to talk about before.
Definitely.
Yeah. So Rage will miss you.
Yep. Till you come back around.
I was going to say, and we'll be the first one to buy tickets when you come back around again.
Yep.
Yep.
All right. Second
All right.
question.
Second question. Are you want me to read this one?
Yes.
Did you read the last one?
I did not.
Okay, you read this one.
Okay.
All right.
Corey Taylor's recent announcement that he is canceling his current solo tour is
Okay, so my word, I'm going to go with my word since you read it, is melancholy. Really? Yeah, it was melancholy. Like, I think there was a sadness to this. So, like, if you read the article, like, I'm maybe this is going to be good. So, like, I'm going to get your take on this. because I think I know where you're going. By the way, we have not talked about this. This is totally unscripted. So like I'm looking forward to this. So it was for mental health reasons and personal family reasons, which were not defined. By the way, we've never talked about Corey Taylor, and we've never talked about Slipknot on this show too. So like this opens up the door to that. So if this is to be taken seriously, which I can see the expression on your face, you know, is it going to be that? And maybe that's the bigger question. Is he really, you know, going through some mental health issues that's preventing him from performing? Or is it, you know, a family issue? And if it is, that is melancholy, or it sounds like it could be. I have not looked over your shoulder. I just know you. Wait, read it out loud. I can't see the glare.
Whatever.
All right, here we go with the sound bite.
No, we need to get our producer on the lighting in there.
So
Can't read anything.
so I get it if it's for that reason, but he's one of these guys that is always in the publications. He's got something to say about everything.
All right.
And, you know, to me, it's like it's noise to me.
Uh-huh.
So
It's just another Corey Taylor story.
yeah.
He's
from
not
my
Corey Taylor from Balloon Knot, not Slipknot.
Balloon Knot.
Balloon Knot.
You don't know what a balloon knot
I
is?
don't know what a balloon. Here's another sound bite.
Your butthole is your balloon knot.
All right.
No, that is
can't
new
believe
to
you
me.
haven't heard of that.
I've never, like, especially from you, like in all the years I've known you, I've never even heard it from you.
You've never heard of balloon knot, seriously.
I seriously have never heard of Balloon Knot.
Oh, I'm so disappointed in you.
There's a band name.
That is a great one for them. 'cause
Exactly.
He is a butthole.
All right. So that's kind of where I was going to go, since we've never talked about Slipknot or Corey Taylor. I can tell you guys are not down with Slipknot.
I mean, I'll listen to Slipknot. It all kind of falls into that new metal to me.
That's what I was going to go next. Was new metal.
It's like all of those bands all kind of sound the same. And I'm sure people might say the same thing about, you know, some of the bands we grew up on.
Right.
You know, I think Slipknot's cool. I'd probably go see him live. I haven't. The rest of the stuff he does, I'm not too into it.
See, like thinking of the scope of the Stand Up and Shout rock show, like, right, like in all the genres and subgenres of rock, like we haven't really talked new metal. And new metal to me, like like everything that's 20 years out is now cool, right? Like so that's where we are with new metal. It's 20 years out. So there's this resurgence that I'm seeing of people finding these new metal bands and like wanting to go see new metal bands again. So yeah, so like that's another reason why I chose the word melancholy, because I know that Corey Taylor is a very popular act right now, you know, to go see. So I know that that's disappointing for a lot of people. There's definitely new metal that I don't like, and there's definitely new metal that I like. So it depends on the band.
It's like when we went to see Five Finger Death Punch, but really we went to see Megadeth.
Yes,
and Megadeth got shitty sound.
That's your Corey Glover though, Kevin. Like I don't think there's anybody that you would rather see than that.
That's I mean, and Five Finger Death Punch was good, but I'm like, it's like I would have rather seen Megadeth in the headlining spot and get good sound, and you know they didn't want to be shown up. It was pretty evident.
Yes.
So you know, and that's a new metal band. They're good.
Yeah.
You know, maybe I'm just old.
So, I guess this brings me to a question that I had. What is sadder, that all of our guys are now too old to be the stud, you know, pussy chasers that they used to be, or that all the angry new metal guys are no longer angry? So, which makes for a worse show? Like, our guys trying to prance around like they still got it, or those guys prancing around like they're still angry but they're not?
And like I was thinking about that too, coming in with new metal, because we talked about this, is new metal classic rock? You know, like in that line of thinking there, Lou, like what you're saying, like if they're not angry anymore, does that make them classic? Does that put them on, you know?
It could, but John wants to chime in because this is his music.
Here we go. There we go, John. That's what I was asking you about earlier.
Yeah, so like Corey Taylor has some like really, and I understand, like I think I came from the same sense where when I first started listening to metal, it all sounded the same, like Kevin was saying. But hearing some of Corey's acoustic stuff, it's deep and it's dark and it's emotional and so maybe it's not the classic rock that you guys grew up with, but it's this new genre of these, you know, acoustic albums and stuff that kind of give it a little bit different perspective than this, you know, hard headbanging, heavy metal stuff. So I think you kind of get a little bit of that through some of their solo stuff.
Yeah.
Now they're old as flaccid rock.
And I'm not a big fan of, you know, as the label goes, screamo vocals, which Corey Taylor obviously is capable of. So you're right. Like some of these other songs, when he gets in and sings and he becomes melodic, he has a great voice. He's
incredible.
Amazingly great voice.
You know, another one that really is kind of gone too soon was Chester from Linkin Park. And another one that by himself had just a phenomenal, you know, solo, you know, sound, but then from him screaming was just incredible as well.
So I've seen that debate. And so I mean, I've seen this like in terms of like talking about new metal and Slipknot. First of all, I know Corey Taylor does not like to be referred to as new metal. He has an objection to that.
Yeah.
And and I've also seen the other debate since you brought up Linkin Park that they do not like to, or other people just, I guess because they kind of came later, you know, or arose later in terms of timing, that they're not necessarily considered new metal either by some, but I don't know how you classify them.
I don't think I get into like the deep classification. It's just like rock to me, and you know, we can go in and dive into the new metal or punk or emo, whatever. I just never been able to categorize bands by that. I
get it.
You know, it's rock and roll to me. It's rock music. It's pop music. It's hip hop, and that's kind of it for me.
Right.
Well, and I like Linkin Park.
Yeah, I do too.
There's just some of those bands that were coming out around that time. It's just like, man.
Yeah, I get it. No, there's a lot of very popular bands from that time period that I do not like. And then there's some that are a little bit more obscure that I do like. And I don't know what that says about me, but you know, I would say that all new metal is not bad, but I've never really, even outside of the show, I don't think that you and I have ever talked about Slipknot.
No.
Yeah. Or what was it? Buttnut?
Buttnut?
But Buttnut sounds like two different, like
balloon knot.
Balloon knot.
Have you ever tied a balloon together and looked at it?
I know what you're saying. I mean, I get it. I'm new to the term. I'm new to the. So if I named the band, I'd name them Buttnut and have it wrong.
Yes.
And it wouldn't even be Balloon Knot. That'd make that even better.
That would be funny.
Right.
That's like.
To those guys.
That's like, remember when House of Hair was on the radio?
Yeah.
And so Jenny would always go, my wife would go, oh, you want to listen to that show, The Hairball? Like, what? That show you were listening to on the radio the other day, it's called Hairball, right? And I'm like, no. You mean Headbangers Ball?
Yeah.
She's like, no.
Hairball.
House of Hair.
That's awesome.
We mess it up.
I know. Look, that was not necessarily a rock term. I don't feel too bad about that. That was just a
Speaking of classic rock, did you see the meme on Facebook or whatever yesterday or a couple days ago? It was the Luck Up Your Daughter's tour. There's a picture of them, and then the picture below was Luck Up Your Grandmother's tour or whatever.
Yeah. Yep.
I did see that.
Oh, I wanted to cry so bad.
All right. Next question.
Get off of this Slipknot. I thought that train only like run for about 2 or 3 minutes. That turned into a long conversation. And I learned a new balloon knot term. All right. You get to read. Wait a minute. I read the last one, didn't I?
I did.
Oh, I'm so backwards today. Joe Perry's recent announcement that Aerosmith may resume its Peace Out tour by the fall or summer of 2024 is surprising. All right. So yeah.
I mean, from the articles that I read, it just sounded like Steven Tyler's voice and his vocal cords are just shredded.
Exactly.
So it's like, I did not even, I figured they were already peacing out.
Right.
When they canceled it or postponed it. But I just never thought that they were going to make it back on stage.
Look, man, I agree. I was polite and I went with improbable. I could have gone with impossible, or I could have gone with bullshit, like wishful thinking, which would have been 2 words. Like, I just don't see it. But and kind of like in the vein of Rage Against the Machine, this is what they always do. Like to me, Joe Perry and Steven Tyler always have different stories on the same event, and they just kind of embellish back and forth, and sometimes argue about the same story with one another. So you didn't hear Steven Tyler's take on this. Is exactly what you said.
Right.
He's torn to shreds. He's, you know, and you know, Mr. Salisbury's point out there, he's not a spring chicken. He's not going to heal up very quickly.
Right.
So what if he can even heal up from like the injury that I heard, which was substantial to his vocal cords he sustained? So could it ever happen again? Like, I think it's even, forget the summer or fall of 2024.
Well, and if it does
ever.
happen,
Yeah, right,
if it ever does happen, hopefully the ticket prices come down, because
right.
I would love to see them one more time, but
Right.
I'm not paying that kind of money
Right.
for them.
Right. And, you know, you and I back in the day paid some very cheap ticket prices to go see Aerosmith. We saw them a
Absolutely.
lot because they were cheap.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Plenty of times. So yeah, not interested in forking out that kind of dough.
Right. Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Next question.
This is you. I remember this.
Mike McCready's statement that this year's new Pearl Jam album is a lot heavier than you would expect is.
All right. So my word is hyphenated. I have anti-grunge. So, and this to me, like I'm going to stereotype band members and band people in this, and it's coming from Mike McCready, who is a phenomenal lead guitarist. So the statement comes from the lead guitarist, right? And you know, I remember the days where it was just very like, you know, uncool for a grunge band to have a guitar solo or to have any type of like ultra heavy thrash guitar sound, right? Like that was not the grunge look or feel. Maybe this is Mike McCready's wishful thinking that he like, he's going in a different direction and like an alter bridge kind of direction. Like, you know, like if you want to compare like a kind of quasi grunge band of Creed to an anti-grunge band, more of a metal band of Alter Bridge, which is the same band with two different singers.
Right.
And then that's a different style for Mike Tremonti, right? So was that what Mike McCready's trying to be? Is he trying to like bring out this metal sound in Pearl Jam? And is that going to happen? And would Pearl Jam, in terms of like new metal, I mean, they are the kings of grunge. I mean, one of the big four,
Right.
that you know, to steal the thrash term, not that there's a big four for grunge, but they're certainly like on the mountaintop.
Well, I mean, they're one of the people on the forefront, and I was actually reading a really cool article about it that shed some light on Mother Love Bone as the, you know, they were being termed kind of the originators of the Seattle sound, and that may or may not be the case.
Yeah.
But they were one of the first bands, and they were way out in front of,
Yeah.
you know, even Soundgarden.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously those guys, you know, 2/3 of Mother Love Bone ended up becoming Pearl Jam.
Right.
So, you know, and that their music, we're both fans of that album, but
Yeah.
you know, so that was good. But to me, and I'll share my word in a second, but that quote reminds me a lot of what we would see from like Motley Crue and
Yeah.
Poison
Yeah.
and all these bands. Like after their first or second album came out, they're like, oh, this next
Yes.
album's going to be so much heavier.
Yeah.
And it was the exact opposite.
Yeah.
But for me,
You got the word?
I said exciting
Oh, all right. Well,
because
yeah.
I love the first couple Pearl Jam albums. The stuff that came out after that, I was like,
Yeah.
you know. So if it is going to be even more back to the sound that they had on those first couple of albums, to me, I'm excited to hear it and would enjoy that better than their more recent releases.
Right. Yeah. I saw Mr. Salisbury and they're fired up and ready to go.
Yeah, so I have a question though.
Yeah.
What exactly do you consider the Seattle sound? Because for me, I don't like that's a grunge sound is I think what people call Seattle sound. But I mean, you've got Alice in Chains, Soundgarden, Mother Love Bone,
Yeah.
Pearl Jam,
Yeah.
Heart,
Nirvana.
Nirvana, of course. Queensryche. Those are all Seattle bands.
Right.
Like those,
Jimi Hendrix.
Oh, for
yeah,
sure.
I mean, they're all very
Well, I think,
diverse types of sound, and I'm not a big fan of Seattle, but I do love like almost all those artists. I don't really care for the grunge as much. It's not bad, but all the rest of
think-
them, I mean, they're great.
I think people use that term more loosely, referring to
the 90s sound.
the 90s,
90s
bands that
grunge.
came out of
like the
there.
early 90s.
But yeah, you know, and even Alice in Chains were
The best band out of Seattle, even above Queensryche.
Ooh, you know where I'm going to go? I'm going to go to Soundgarden. I worship at the altar of Soundgarden.
Yeah, that I guess that is a tough one.
I love Soundgarden.
Yeah.
And I always will.
But in terms of the
And I love Alice, so don't get me wrong.
in terms of the bands from the the early 90s, that those Seattle bands, yeah, I think Alice and Soundgarden were the two heaviest.
Yeah.
And
Which to me, like, that's a good question that you're bringing up there, Jeff. Like that I'd say that they may have more similarities in their sound, not that they're the exact same, than say Nirvana, which would be another huge name.
Yeah.
Or even Pearl Jam, because Pearl Jam is almost more of a classic sound, a classic like, pop rock sound, for lack of better words. Not pop, but kind of more in that vein.
And the person sitting in the room next to you is the person who broke Alice to all of us. Do you remember that?
Who, you?
No.
Oh, Kevin? Absolutely.
When he brought the demo tape home from Woovit.
Yeah, I was good. To me, Kevin, that whole sound that I totally fell in love with, like, was all of the early 90s, I owe to Kevin. I still have those CDs. I even have the Pearl Jam 10 CD, like getting back to Pearl Jam,
Right.
that was hijacked from the radio station. And it even says radio promo, like across the CD cover.
I remember hearing that radio promo that he had and just going, these guys, if they were just a little bit faster, they would be amazing.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
his voice is amazing. The sound was amazing.
Yeah.
And then, like, after listening to the whole thing through a couple times, I was like, nah, these guys are perfect.
Yeah. And was that SAP?
What's that?
The EP SAP?
that was Facelift.
No, it's
Facelift?
Facelift. Yeah.
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 I can't remember which one you brought back first. I do
Yeah.
remember, like,
Oh, no.
No, it was Facelift. I remember that distinctly because I was just like shocked because he brought it home and I happened to be down that weekend visiting you guys. And I was just like, wow.
I love that. And the guys that were the music directors at the station were like, oh, you're a metal guy. You should listen to this. And they threw on Ultra Mega OK. And I was like, that was the first time I heard Soundgarden. I'm like, whoa. And then, even Nirvana, Bleach is entirely different sound than their other releases. But even when Nevermind was released and we were playing that at the college radio station, we had this big, huge speaker that faced out into the student media wing, and Smells Like Teen Spirits blaring out, and people are walking by, turn this crap off. That song sucks. That's a horrible band. Who would ever listen to this garbage? And then 6 months later, they blow up, and everyone's like, oh, you hear this new band? I'm like, you're an a-hole.
It's funny. I think that I wouldn't swear to it, but I think Steve Fenner introduced me to Soundgarden.
Really?
Yeah, because you remember when it was at Lake Fairfax and Soundgarden played?
Oh, yeah, of
It
course.
was right before that, I think, that we were playing Louder Than Love.
Yep.
And I was floored on that one, too.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an awesome album.
Yeah. I know. That's what I'm saying. Like those Ultra Mega OK, Louder Than Love, and Bad Motorfinger, they will just always be
Unbelievable.
repeat plays in my collection. I don't wait, as I say, don't wait for the algorithm. Play the music you want to hear. And that's the music I want to hear.
All right.
Yeah.
Got one more, right?
One more to go. This is really cool. And so, wait a minute. This is you.
Check out John's little fade in, fade out.
Loving
See
that.
I know.
Sweet.
He's getting fancy.
Stephen Piercy announcing that he will perform Out of the Cellar during its 40th anniversary of its release in its entirety during 2024 tour stops is
It's rat and roll, baby. It is rat and roll. We don't give Rat enough love.
Nope.
Like, I don't think the world gives Rat enough love. Like, they get campy on a Geico commercial, but that doesn't count. Like, they were just such a wicked, awesome band. Like, before...
They were the go-to for us back then. I mean, that was my first concert with Bon Jovi opening. We all went.
That's
remember
what I
the
was
Amy
about to say.
Pfefferkorn trip
Yes.
around the Beltway? It's
Right.
a long way.
And and I'll pause you on that one because
Yeah.
we saw Bon Jovi open for Rat, and that
Yep.
that was not like half-ass sold out. There was a hell of a lot of people at that show.
That show was
to
packed,
see
and it was
Rat.
so awesome.
Yeah, that's
So-
all Rat and roll.
mine is awesome because Out of the Cellar is my Rat entry drug.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
yeah.
I'm super stoked. And the fact that he's playing at M3
right.
and that's listed in the
Right.
tour dates of one of the locations, I'm so excited now for that show.
And how about the late great Tawny Katane? Like, got to give her some love. You know me, I always give love to the Vixens. You know, like she was on the album cover. That was one of the first times before she was flipping on Jaguars and Whitesnake videos. Yep. She was crawling out of the cellar, out of the manhole.
And she's the legs on the EP.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. So, and she was dating Robin Crosby, the late great Robin Crosby.
Yep.
So
the only thing that would make that better is if they all got back together, but I don't know that that's ever going to happen.
Yeah. And especially for me, I'm a Warren DeMartini fan. So like to get Warren back in, like playing with Stephen Pearcy, that would just be, I mean, we saw Stephen Pearcy at M3.
Yeah.
And
it was great.
It was like seeing Rat.
Yeah.
It was absolutely. And I feel like, you know, people go in and out because it's a full day festival. So sometimes a band goes up and some people won't pay attention to them as much, but everybody came back and he did a great set mixed not only with Out of the Cellar songs with Invasion of Privacy and some of the songs off the EP and just a great full set.
Well,
so
and just like
Dancing Undercover.
Just like Tony Harnell.
Yeah.
It's you're hearing TNT.
Yeah.
And you know, when the voice is there,
you
know, you definitely would miss Warren DeMartini and that stuff, but it's gonna be such an awesome show. And Lynch Mob is on that bill.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
we may have to speaking, getting back to Out of the Cellar, because it's the 40th anniversary, right? We did the 40th anniversary bottoms up edition of albums of 83.
Yep.
We may have to go to 84 because 84 had a hell of a lot of amazing.
Oh
albums.
yeah. We definitely will have to hit that at some point this year.
Yeah. I know. So let's put that on the radar. I hope you all came up with some good words, but go back into your collection. Or if you haven't seen the collection, if you're a young pup like the producers and weren't around back then, that's a good year to dig into because there's some good music from 1984.
Absolutely. Yeah.
There's some good music from 2024. So I'm not trying to sound like an old man. Yeah. Although I may be. And not knowing what a butt
we got to get our
is.
booking manager on that guy.
I just said butt knot again.
knot?
I said I didn't know what a butt knot. I said butt knot. I didn't even say balloon knot.
Right.
That should have been my word. Balloon knot.
So can you see if we can get the booking manager on that?
I know, right?
Give Sullivan a call.
I know. Absolutely. Fucker.
I hit him up. He just hasn't responded to me. I need to hit him back again.
Yeah.
Sweet. So
you know Kevin and I would be here.
Hell yeah. The three of us might be the only three here, but that'd be all right.
I think that there's a big, I think that there's a big amount of interest in seeing Out of the Cellar specifically.
Yeah.
Larry
Garner will be here.
Absolutely. Yeah. Might even get Damon off the couch.
Yeah.
Just don't offer subscription service because then I would keep him on the couch.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right.
I think that does it for us this episode.
Good to see everybody again. Great to be back.
Looking forward to a great season 2.
And we'll be back on February 9th.
Yep.
So I'd like to talk about those shows again. We're talking to Cursor.
Yep.
The Knuckleheads. They're there that night. Who else is there?
Motel Portrait and Mach Zero.
Be the first time talking to those cats.
Yep. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
All right.
So we're going to try and get back on our regular cadence of every other Wednesday night. But then anytime there's a rock show here, we'll be live chatting up the bands and looking forward to a great season 2 here.
Not only can you see our show on February 9th, but you'll see all of those great acts if you come down on Metal Night, Friday, February 9th.
Definitely want to get your comments. So, let us know what you like, what you don't like. And, if you want to call us a butt knot. That's it.
Word of the day.
See you on the next show.
Heard and word, but
See ya.
No more fucking around. It's Wild Style Radio.
I would say don't say butt knot. Say butt.